So now we're headed back across town. Figured I'd do a little bit of chatting with you guys. Do a little bit of thinking while I'm driving here. It's later in the day. It's about 4:45 in the afternoon. Almost dinner time. Lately I've been doing a lot of research, a lot of thinking, and a lot of meditating on the concept or the idea or the topic that is the subconscious mind. Now, I know you guys hear me talk a lot about the subconscious mind. I've written quite a few articles dealing with it, a couple of podcasts. I've done a couple of interviews with other websites about the subconscious mind. And to me, it still remains of the utmost importance when it comes to discussion in regards to personal growth and development. To kind of go over it real quick, just for those who are kind of new to this, the idea of the subconscious mind is kind of goes back to Freudian and Jungian psychology of the collective unconscious, or suppressed beliefs. Those were sort of taking early digs at the concept of the subconscious mind. But really what it is the idea is that your subconscious mind and your conscious mind together represent your total mind. So your total mind is thus broken up into two pieces, two sections. You have the conscious mind, which is the part of us that allows us to make deliberate and intentional decisions, such as I choose to take a left at this light, I'm choosing to scratch my nose and my shoulder. These are all conscious decisions. The subconscious mind, on the other hand, is kind of like the back door or the behind the curtain of your conscious mind. This is where all of your beliefs, all of your conditioning, all of your memories, everything, your automatic systems, the regulation of your blood, your respiratory system, all of these things are on a fine Swiss watch. Excuse me, I'm tongue-tying here. A well-oiled machine. You don't have to consciously think about breathing. You don't have to consciously think about your pulse or your blood pumping through your veins, or you don't have to consciously sit there and tell your body to digest the food you just ate. There are processes which run automatically, and these processes are governed by your subconscious. Now, when you go to sleep at night, the veil between your conscious mind thins. And this is how you enter the dream state. Your dreams are actually your subconscious mind dumping everything into your awareness while you sleep. This kind of ties in, not to go off topic too much here, with the subjective reality model. Everything is subconscious, your beliefs, all of these things. Your dreams, beliefs, all of that stuff, subconscious. When you're dreaming at night, and you have a very vivid dream, you might be at a certain location with certain people. Let's say you're at your childhood home and you're with your friends from high school. This is a random dream. You haven't seen these people for 12 years or whatever, but that's besides the point. When you're dreaming, you're aware of the dreamscape, which is your environment, yourself, and all the other dream characters. However, when you're dreaming, you know that all of this is taking place within your consciousness. When you're dreaming, there's a little piece of you that knows that this is a dream. Even the most realistic dreams and nightmares, there's a portion of you that knows it's just a dream. Now, all of those people that aren't you in your dream, your friends, your family, the NPCs that show up, people are all occurring within your consciousness. You are technically projecting all of those people from within your consciousness. You are simultaneously yourself, the other people, and the environment, the container in which your dream is taking place. Now, you'll really start to blow your own mind when you take this a step further and come back into waking reality. Your everyday life, driving to work, doing your job, coming home, cooking, cleaning, doing the dishes. Your interactions with other people, your environment. I would assert that you are no less the dreamscape or the other characters in the dream when you are waking as you are when you're dreaming. To simplify that a little bit, I think that lucid living is what's actually going on. You are not actually separate from anyone else or anything that you observe external to you. These are all projections from within your own consciousness. Your true identity isn't your name. It isn't you who's been given a name. You're not John or Mary. You're pure consciousness. Pure source consciousness divided into an infinite number of finite expressions of itself. Infinite source consciousness divided into an infinite number of finite expressions of itself. Humans, animals, plants, sand, dirt, concrete, everything. This is all a projection of consciousness. Consciousness is all there is. This is why it's so important to prioritize your own consciousness development. As you become more conscious, you start to realize that there's less and less separation between you and the external world. You start to realize that the external world isn't actually external. This ties back into the subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is kind of like the control center connecting you back to source consciousness. When you can get into touch with this, this is what creates synchronicity and ultimately manifestation in your reality experience. For example, I do this all the time. When I feel like I need a little bit more money, or if I'm behind on bills, or I know that I'm going to need to make a little bit more next month to cover myself, I'll meditate. This 2-word mantra that I anchor on, wealth and success. Those are the 2 words that I anchor on several times a day. What I do is I get into a peaceful state of mind, as relaxed as possible, and then I anchor those 2 words. I say them slowly, and as I'm saying them, I focus on what I would feel like if I were at my future goal and experiencing that wealth and success. What would that make me feel like inside? What would I actually feel as an emotional response if, say, I received a $500,000 check in the mail? What would I feel like? Not what would I do with the money, but what would I feel like once I got that check? What would the emotional response be of me seeing those numbers and knowing I could put that money in my bank account and then go use that money for whatever I want? That is the feeling that you anchor on, because that is the reality you're going to attract. The fallacy of the law, the ultimate fallacy in regards to the law of attraction, is people believing that I don't want to say believing, I don't want to mix you up here because we're going to get into that, but the biggest fallacy when it comes to the law of attraction is when people think that just because they think of something, they're going to attract it. Your thought alone is not what's attracting your manifestations. It's the emotional energy behind the thought. Your emotions are the magnets. They're the signal you are sending out to reel in. It's like going fishing. Your emotions are the hooks you cast out into the sea of reality, and they reel in like experiences. Now, you can prove this is true because you may have experimented once or twice where you thought about something like trying to attract more money, but then you end up getting either the opposite or something unexpected. The reason why it seems like that is because your thoughts aren't what's attracting your synchronicities. It's your emotional responses. So your thoughts and your emotions were not aligned with one another. You may have been thinking about money, but I can almost guarantee you on the emotional level, on the level that counts, you were all sorts of scarcity, doubt, worry, anxiety, all of that stuff. That is the actual part of the mechanism that attracts your like experiences. So you could be thinking about money all day, but if you're emotionally anchoring on scarcity, you're gonna attract scarcity. I forget who said it. There's a quote. It's something like, at the end of the day, whether it's man's conscious will or imagination, the imagination will always win. And I'm paraphrasing here. I probably butchered that quote, but what it comes down to is your imagination is always going to get the best of you. Anything you can imagine is what you're going to attract. That's ultimately what it comes down to. When you're projecting emotions like fear, doubt, anxiety, and worry, you're imagining those scenarios for yourself in the present moment. That's all that's happening. That's all you're doing, is you're anchoring in the present moment. So when you allow yourself to feel anxiety, worry, and doubt, and you don't use those as the signals to turn your emotional state around into a state of positivity, all you're doing is anchoring on and attracting more of the same, of that emotional response. So if you anchor on fear, worry, and doubt for like 3 or 4 days straight, you're going to attract situations, people, places, and events that reinforce that vibratory signature. If you can build up a little bit of courage and a little bit of self-discipline, you can start consciously and deliberately turning your emotional state around. So when you have a stimulus in your environment that would cause you to behave fearfully or doubtfully, you can recognize and go, wait a minute, I have a choice here. I can choose to let this state take over and anchor me in negativity, or I can choose to overcome that. And it's this choosing of a new way that causes your consciousness to expand, because you become aware of other options. The whole premise behind personal consciousness development is becoming aware of more choices. That's ultimately what becoming more conscious means. It's becoming aware of more choices that were either already there and you weren't aware of them, or becoming aware of new opportunities that lead to new choices that you previously were barred from because of your thinking and your beliefs and your feeling. So ultimately how this works is you have a 3-tier system of, your thoughts, which fill your conscious mind. These eventually crystallize into beliefs, which then further crystallize and almost drip down, if you will imagine, dripping down through into the subconscious mind, where they become embedded and very difficult to remove. Once they're on the subconscious level, they're going to manifest. You are manifesting everything you are manifesting right now because of what's inside your subconscious. In theory, if we could plug your subconscious mind into a computer and take out the beliefs we don't want and add beliefs we do want, instantaneously, with no struggle and no effort, you would begin manifesting new realities for yourself instantly. You begin manifesting $1 million checks. You begin manifesting brand new cars. You'd be manifesting wonderfully beautiful sexual partners. You'd be manifesting everything. Everything. Now, I know that sounds absolutely insane to anyone that's reasonable, but I assure you, although you cannot go to as far of an extreme as I just gave in that example, you can begin tweaking your current beliefs. And I'm going to issue a challenge to all of you to begin proving this to yourself. Is get out notepad, get out a piece of paper, and write down what you currently think are your 3 biggest limiting beliefs. And you don't even have to be right about these, just what you currently consider to be your 3 greatest self-limiting beliefs. This could be something like, I need a job to make money. You need to work to make money. I have to have a boss to get money. You can only get money from a paycheck. I use examples regarding money a lot because that's something people always get wrapped up in. That's a very common issue. But when you have these limiting beliefs in your way, they're limiting because you're unconscious of them. By becoming conscious of them, you can choose to deliberately disobey them. So what I suggest doing, as issuing a challenge to all of you today, after you're done watching this video, right after you're done watching this video, go about your daily routine for the next week. Keep a journal. This is good. Keep a journal. This will help you out a lot. Do your absolute best to write down and take note of whenever negative thinking crosses your mind. Whenever you get a negative thought, do your best to write down what that thought is. Catch yourself. By writing it down, you become more conscious of it. You start to associate writing it down with coming up with it in your head, so eventually you start disassociating with it. And you start creating an exercise for yourself whereby you can start installing new beliefs. So every time you start thinking negatively, I want you to intentionally, deliberately, and consciously, as best as possible, defy that belief. If you have a belief that says you need a job in order to get paid and make money, consciously defy that belief and say, I do not need a job to make money. I make money by delivering value to people. When your mind is telling you you'll never lose weight, you can't lose weight, you can't stick to a diet, tell your mind you will stick to that diet. Go a step further and start listing out foods that you will supplement your diet with. Overcome your negative thinking. Start giving your subconscious mind good triggers to work with. If you can keep this up for a week or more, just watching your own thoughts. Every time a negative thought pops up, just replace it with a positive one. Every negative thought comes up, replace it with a positive one. I'm going to tell you something right now. There are so many people out there in this world who are afraid to push themselves because they're afraid of being considered delusional. I'm going to tell you something right now. 90% of this planet just going around behaving as they're behaving, those people are delusional. People that do not take the moment to become conscious and alter their behavior, those people are delusional. The people that tell you you're delusional for changing your thinking and using positive psychology, positive affirmation, these things have foundations in neuroscience that are just beginning to become uncovered. These things have been happening for thousands of years, and science itself is now just barely catching up to the truth and validity of this stuff. So the greatest tragedy is those who vehemently insist that people that, work with the subconscious mind, do affirmations, positive psychology, that's all delusional and the placebo effect. What I'm telling you right now is whether it's the placebo effect or delusional, it works. It works. You will get results. Now you have to come to a crossroads here, sort of a bridge. You have to decide whether you're going to allow yourself to achieve your goals or you're going to stick to what's popular. This stuff is not popular because it's uncomfortable. Most people will not do this because it's uncomfortable. Most people will not embrace change because it's uncomfortable. Guaranteed misery will always be chosen as an option over uncertainty. So people will always choose that which makes them miserable over an option which is uncertain. And that is the greatest irony. Torturing yourself with your fears in your mind right now is almost always infinitely worse than having to experience your fears. See, he who fears suffering is already suffering from that which he fears. So if you go around and spend your life fearing, worrying, and doubting things, and not taking steps and actions towards your goals because you fear suffering, recognize that as you fear in the present moment, you're suffering right now. You are experiencing the end result of that suffering. You are paying interest on a loan that is not due yet. You are feeling that right now. That is your state of being. When you detach from the false notion that you have to make intelligent decisions based around avoiding fear, you become more human. You become more of yourself.